Okay, we will call to order the regular meeting of the Batavia City Council for Monday, August 17th, 2015. I'd ask that you all please rise for a brief invocation to be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight, as always, we are asking for guidance and direction and vision as the City Council undertakes the various items of business before it. We know that this is a very busy season in our community with the reopening of school and with the coming of the Labor Day holiday. And we just ask that everybody remember the need for safety and caution, and that we go about our good times and enjoyments of the season knowing that we need to look out for each other on an ongoing basis. As always tonight, we want to remember those from our community who are serving in foreign soil in defense of the liberties of the United States of America. And we just ask that a special blessing be showered upon each and every one of those men and women, along with all others from our country who are serving so honorably in defense of the liberties of the United States of America on foreign soil. Tonight, we just ask for direction and guidance, knowing that each member of the City Council is here tonight to do what in their own hearts and minds is in the very best interest of our community. We ask for all these blessings. Amen. Amen. Alderman Stark, would you lead us to the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ask the City Clerk to please call the roll.
Brown?
Here.
Rusato?
Here.
Atack?
Here.
Stark? Here. Chanzit?
Here.
Wolf?
Here.
Fisher?
Here.
O'Brien?
Here.
Callahan?
Here.
Homan?
Here.
Mueller? Boderman?
Here.
Cerrone?
Here.
McFadden?
Here. Let the record reflect that all 14 elected members of the City Council are present and accounted for this evening's meetings. We have a unanimous quorum here tonight, which has been a while since we've been able to do this. Vacations and resignations and absences and everything else, so it's good to have a full quorum. Okay, moving then to item number 4, which are items to be removed, added, or changed on the agenda. Alderman Atack, do you have anything?
I do not.
I have one. I got a note sent to me earlier in the day that item number 8 needs to be removed because Jamie indicated that she was going to be unable to make the meeting tonight.
Okay. So I move that we remove item number 8 from the agenda.
Second?
Moved by Alderman Atack, second by Alderman Stark for the removal of item number 8 from the agenda. Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Atack?
Aye.
Stark?
Aye.
Chanzit?
Aye.
Aye.
Wolf?
Aye.
Fisher?
Aye.
O'Brien?
Aye.
Callahan?
Aye.
Homan?
Aye.
Mueller?
Aye.
Boderman? Cerrone?
Aye.
McFadden?
Aye.
Brown?
Aye.
Rusato?
Aye.
Motion for the removal of item number 8 is approved. 14 yes, no no's, none absent. Alderman Atack, anything further?
No.
Okay. Moving then to the presentation of the consent agenda. Alderman Atack.
The consent agenda reads as follows. Accept and place on file Plan Commission meetings for July 15th, 2015. Approvals, August 14th, 2015 payroll of $728,705.60. Accounts payable check register, $3,963,250.99. Resolution 15-88-R approving the master services agreement with Ian Engineering Limited Liability Company, which was recommended from COW 9-0 to go to the Plan Commission, to the City Council. Ordinance 15-34 declaring surplus property. Resolution 15-112R requesting permit for from IDOT for closure of roadway for the 2015 half marathon special event. Resolution 15-109-R authorizing intergovernmental agreement with Fox Metro. Resolution 15-108-R authorizing task order number 5 with Rempe Sharp. Ordinance 15-35, an ordinance establishing a date, time, and place for the public hearing pertaining to the Westtown Tax Increment Financing District. Ordinance 15-36, an ordinance or authorizing the establishment of tax increment financing interested parties registries and adopting registration rule for such registries. Ordinance 15-33, vacating a portion of the North College Street. Ordinance 15-37, amending the text of the zoning code. Resolution 15-11R, budget amendment for interfund transfer. Resolution 15-107R, authorization for an interfund TIF loan. The resolutions and ordinances were passed by the COW on the August 11th meeting, all unanimously, and 9 were present. I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Atek, second by Alderman McFadden for the approval of the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Atak?
Aye.
Stark?
Aye.
Chanzik?
Aye.
Wolf?
Aye.
Fisher?
Aye.
O'Brien?
Aye.
Callahan?
Aye.
Homan?
Aye.
Mueller?
Aye.
Boderman?
Aye.
Saron?
Aye.
McFadden?
Aye.
Brown?
Aye.
Rosado?
Aye.
Consent agenda is approved, 14 yes, no nos, none absent. Okay, moving to item number 6 on our agenda, which are matters from the public for items not on the agenda. Do we have anybody in the audience this evening who wishes to address City Council for something not on the agenda? Okay. Now for one of the, what I consider the item number 7, which is the presentation of the Loyalty Day Parade category winners. This is always one of the highlights of the year for, I think, the community and the City Council, and an appreciation for the great efforts done by the Batavia VFW and its Women's Auxiliary in putting together the annual Loyalty Day Parade, which is now almost 30-plus year event. So they have been doing this for a long, long time, and it's become a very much look forward to community tradition by a number of people. But in the last few years, they've added the category winners for significant entries in the parade, and so I'm very honored tonight to have Andy Frankie and Carl Dinwiddie here, who tell me they're going to do the honors of doing the presentations. So, gentlemen.
Three judges who viewed the parade and voted, and we have winners in various categories: youth category, bands, military, commercial, and adult, and last but not least, the mayor's award, the mayor chose this year. Just so everybody can see, tonight we'll be handing out plaques to all the winners that look like that, and also a certificate of positions, so you can see. And for the winners, if you would, as you get your certificate and plaque, there's a box that was shipped in that has a mounting pin, and Andy or Brian will hand that to you also, so take that with you. So I will start out with the youth category. Third place winner is Cub Scout Pack 103. Second place in the youth category, Scrub Pellets, Scrub Pack 153. First place winner in the youth category is Moose Heart, Anna ROTC. Moving on to band. And then we have a third place. Second place is Mr. Gutter, Master Second. And first place winner is our own very own Batavia High School marching band. Military category. Third place is Veterans of Foreign Wars, Bartlett Post 11018.
There's a pin in that box that you can stick those up in it, so make sure you don't throw the box away, okay?
Second place winner is Batavia and Ladies Auxiliary of the 19th District, of which we are.
All I have to do is hold it and it goes nuts. Let's proceed. It doesn't work that way that one.
In the commercial category, third place winner, Batavia Academy of Dance. In commercial, the second place winner, the Attic Christian Arts Center.
We're moving on to the commercial first place, and it's Dazzles.
In the adult division, third place winner was the Fox Corvette Club. Second place winner in the adult division is the Fox Valley Aero Club. They have show and tell.
The jet is, it's a ducted fan. I think it is. Yeah, it's a ducted fan jet.
Don't stare directly at it, it will hurt your eye.
It's like a ducted fan. Tune out of this guy.
That's what I was gonna ask you.
He didn't want to let me land.
Playing with my sign.
I take 120 feet. If you get 120 feet, it takes off. And if something happens, you're 8 miles over the stretch. I'm just waiting for these to go. Yeah, the ABM's He's got 2
We're part of the Fox Valley Aero Club. Some of those out 180 members, St. Charles, and they're all flying models.
ducted fan.
Flying by radio control. Brian's our parade chairman, so he was in charge of the float this year, and he did a great job. And we'll tell you a little bit more about it.
Yeah, we're just a model flying club. We have air shows a few times over the summers just to show off what we do and just to let other people know that we're out there and tell us the other fun parts of the hobby. So besides, other than making sure your wife's cool with it, the big part, it's just a lot of fun. And that's what we like to do. And we have people come from, okay, sorry.
So this is an ME-262, so patterned after the first World War II combat jet. It's all foam, model weighs probably 8 pounds. It has fully functional ailerons, elevators, water, and it's got twin ducted fans. It has retractable landing gear.
Wow.
And when it's landing gear up, it'll probably do 90, 100 miles.
Wow.
Well, I'll tell you what.
And it's electric. Get it around here.
The good news is we have, make a shameless plug, we have an event this Saturday called our Festival Flight at our field in St. Charles, it's near Tech Road and Roosevelt, around 38.
Yeah, 38, just past Peck.
And we have some flyers here, so we'd love everyone to come out. Adults are $5 a piece and kids are free. So.
And it's going to go on all day from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And then at 9 p.m. we're going to have a night fly where we'll have things with LEDs on. It's pretty cool to see. And if you ever have an interest in flying one of these, come on out. We've got guys that can teach you how to do it. And we welcome new members anytime.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, and our first place award in the adult category goes to the Batavia Fire Department.
Put all the young guys out on it.
every year the VFW gives me the opportunity to pick my favorite entry in the parade. And this year I was very enlightened and happy to come up with the one that I did because I picked the Fox Valley Robotics and Batavia Robotics group to receive this. And I do that because I've always been very interested in what this group is all about because they're constantly innovating and creating new ideas, and they've been in here a couple times and shown us in the past what it is that they've come up with. But I think the magic of the moment with this group is not so much what they did yesterday and today, but they're all the young generation, and I'm really excited about what this group can do tomorrow and in the future. And I just think that they represent some very bright and energetic future for our community and our world at large. And I think the sky's the limit as to where they're going, quite literally. And we will hopefully see some very enlightened creations and inventions and ideas and progress for mankind in general for what this group is going to be capable of doing. And they get into a broader and wider world. I think there's no limitation as to where they can go. So I'm very, very pleased. If somebody from the organization would come up, I'd like to have a... There you are.
Copies, I can get copies of the pictures for you.
The robotic kids know how to work on air conditioning.
So that concludes our awards, but we have a lot of thank yous to say to everybody. Man Shop, the ATV. Is there anybody here from the ATV?
He's back here.
He's working.
Without you guys helping out, we wouldn't get the coverage and things like that. So thank you very much. Thank you. Batavia Police and Fire Department, they put forth a lot of time and effort, not just at the event, but the planning and everything else like that. So do we have anybody here from the police department? A representative? And then, I'd like to thank the mayor and the city for all the assistance and the coordination and support. And we wouldn't be able to put on the parade without support from all of our donors. And all the people on these boards here and back here donated funding, materials, all sorts of things to help support the parade. So please, if you visit any of these establishments, let them know that you appreciate their support in helping us put on these parades and things like that. So I think next year is our 41st parade, correct?
Andy, before you step down, I just want to make a couple of comments. Number one, I think the community of Batavia owes the VFW and its ladies auxiliary, as I said earlier, a big applause of thanks for what you've done over the 41 years you've been doing this. And the idea that, you know, we implant patriotism in this town in the minds of every young person that grows up here, and then we remind them of it every year when we bring this parade back out and show everybody what we're really all about. So I think we're at the heart and the fiber of this community, and our commitment to patriotism and the ideals of the United States of America are right there for everybody to see and understand, and anybody that sees it cannot doubt it. And I thank the VFW for really putting Batavia in that position. This next year is going to be a special year for Batavia as far as patriotism, because it marks the 100th anniversary of American Flag Day on June 14th. And 100 years ago, that day was created by a gentleman who lived in Batavia on June 14th, 1916, Dr. Bernard J. Sagrand, and he is credited with being the founder of American Flag Day. So since this is the 100th anniversary, we're going to try to do something special over that time period to kind of, and hopefully we can include something about Flag Day in the next year's Loyalty Day Parade, because we really do have something to, we have some bragging rights and some great honor for this town that we need to highlight. So thank you again for all you do and for making Batavia a very, very special place in the arena of patriotism and what the American ideal is all about. And you're really helping us show it. So thank you.
I got one more thank you to the two workhorses that really are behind the parade, Carol and Bob. Please stand up. Everybody else in the parade, year after year. No, you didn't. And without you two, I don't think the parade would continue to go on.
Well, there's a lot of people who work on the parade. We're not-
I know there's a lot of people,
There's a
but
lot of people.
thank you very much.
Next year's parade
May
is
1st.
May 1st. So we want to see you all the way there, and every year thereafter, it's the first Sunday in May. So, be there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we move then to, there is no item number 8 that was removed by the action of the agenda. So we'll move to item number 9, which is Resolution 15-110-R, authorizing Task Order 17 with the RJN Group. Who's got this one?
I think Alderman Chanzit.
Alderman Chanzit?
Yeah, as we learned at the committee meeting last week, we do have some good news and some progress being made in Cherry Park regarding stormwater. And I think Gary's here if anyone had any questions. Or actually, Gary, I think you wanted to share with the group what we're doing.
Thank you. We had talked about this at the committee, but wanted to bring it here to council tonight to get the word out to the whole community. This is a task order for our engineers to begin looking at the sanitary and stormwater system in the southeast part of town. They'll be putting in flow monitors in our sanitary system, which will monitor flow, and hopefully we'll get some storm events to get some good data, and then we'll be able to use that data into our model and be able to model the system. We already have a model, but this will provide updated data for that. And then if we identify any issues, that'll serve as the foundation for solutions going forward.
If anyone has any questions, otherwise I would make a motion to approve Resolution 15-110-R.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Chanzit, second by Alderman Wolf for the approval of Resolution 15-110-R. Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Chanzit.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Callahan.
Aye.
Homan.
Aye.
Mueller. Aye. Boderman.
Aye.
Saron.
Aye.
McFadden.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Rusado.
Aye.
Atack. Aye. Stark. Aye.
Resolution 15-110-R is approved with a vote of 14 yes, no no's, none absent. Okay, moving to item number 10, which is approval of a Class G liquor license for Gammon Coach House, John With, for the Batavia Main Street Downtown Block Party on September 6th. And while we're doing this, I've got an addition to this that I hope nobody minds. Over the weekend, I was contacted by the Batavia Main Street, and they reported to me that they really have needs for 3 Class G liquor licenses, because we have 2 of our other establishments in town who are going to be setting up here on the 6th and also selling food and liquor. And those 2 are the Wilson Street Tavern, which is based at 105 East Wilson Street, and then the other one is the Range Grill and Tap, which is at 35 North Water Street up here on the corner. And so the 3 of them, the Gammon Coach House, the Range Grill, and the Wilson Street Tavern, I took the liberty of advancing this without taking it to committee, because quite frankly, it's kind of a formality. They're already, all 3 of them are approved licenses in the city. They all have their background checks. They all have their dram shop insurance. I've got a file upstairs on each and every one of them. We know everything about them, so it's not like we're granting anything new. I think that I'm pleased that we have 3 that are going to be part of that, because this party on the 6th seems to be kind of growing with interest in the community, as I think we've seen with some of the other festivals. This one's going to be kind of held, as I understand it, in 2 locations. There's going to be a earlier in the day car show that's going to be on North River Street, and then the party's going to, some of that I guess stays over there, because one of the things that's going to happen is one of the sponsors of the car show is going to get married in reality at the end of the car show on River Street. So we're doing all kinds of creative stuff here. And then once that takes place, they're going to move the party over to here, where there's going to be some entertainment and these food booths and whatever have you. And the idea is that people will transport themselves back and forth over the bridge and connect and have a kind of a community thing. And it's the Sunday before Labor Day has kind of become kind of it's a little bit like Loyalty Day. It's a kind of becoming a bigger event with each passing year. I want to give the Main Street leadership some credit in this. They've done some stuff to kind of bring us some more of this around. We've had people calling here asking about the car show, and the word's getting out. So I think it could be a really nice event for the day, and we got a wedding thrown in on top of it for the just pure bonus. And the wedding is going to be a local businessman who's in the car business, who has just recently moved to Batavia, and we did a ribbon cutting for him out at his business on Lewis Fork Drive. So we've got some interesting things happening, and I'm just very excited about it. So I guess I would ask that when we vote on this, when you make the motion, that the motion include the Class G license for Gammon Coach House, for Wilson Street Tavern, and for the Range Grill and Tap. Somebody care to make the motion?
I move that we grant a Class G1 special use outdoor license to the Gammon Coach House, Wilson Street Tavern, and Grange Grill and Tap for the block party on Sunday, September 6, 2015.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Atek, second by Alderman Fisher for the approval of the licenses. Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Atak?
Aye.
Stark?
Aye.
Chanzit?
Aye.
Wolf?
Aye.
Fisher?
Aye.
O'Brien?
Aye.
Callahan?
Aye.
Homan?
Aye.
Mueller? Aye. Boderman?
Aye.
Saron?
Aye.
McFadden?
Aye.
Brown?
Aye.
Rusado?
Aye.
Motion's approved, 14 yes, no no's, none absent. Okay, going to the administrator's report, Mr. McGrath.
Thanks, Mayor. I want to start out with something on the more serious side. That is, I don't know if anybody read the front page of the Chicago Tribune on Sunday. There was a long article about pension spikes as they relate to municipal employees. And I'm sure some of you were disconcerted over some of the things that you read. Certainly none of them related to Batavia, but I felt it was important to talk about it at this forum, especially since we're on television. So I just want to simply and briefly state that the city of Batavia does not endorse. We have never, at least as long as I've been here, engaged in any kind of practice that could in any way be looked at as a pension spike. But I think it's so important that I would like to come to committee and maybe draft a policy for the city council to pass that actually, in black and white, requires that not be any kind of practice, and that especially in the future, if you enter into any written employment agreements like I have, that whoever brings that forward has to actually certify that there's nothing in the agreement, maybe even the city attorney give an opinion that there's nothing in the agreement that could result in a pension spike, because the one thing in the article, if you read it, was that many of the city council people didn't know what was in some of those agreements, and I think that puts the city council in a horrible position. And any of this stuff has to be transparent and negotiated. So, the real problem with those so-called pension spikes is not that there's anything wrong with, I think, rewarding some employee for good and long service. The fact is, if they bump it up at the last moment, that employee is not paid his fair share towards that pension for those years, and the city really has to make up this huge payment that really does not add to the financial health of the pension program either. So I just wanted to tell you that it was on the front page, and it was really kind of embarrassing for me as a professional. So I wanted to assure all of you, and then I'm going to be bringing a policy forward for you to look at. Brush collection. The west side is actually brush collection is this week. People were asked to have their brush out this morning by 7 o'clock. If they've already come through your neighborhood, you're taking a risk by putting things out. If you see your neighbors still have their brush out, then I think you have the opportunity to do that. After that, on the west side, they'll be coming back on September 21st, October 19th, and November 30th, which is the last one of the season. On the east side, September 14th is the next pickup, followed by October 12th, and then again November 30th after that Thanksgiving weekend. The deadline for participating in the Parkway Tree Program is September 15th. This is a 50-50 cost-sharing program to plant healthy, disease-resistant trees in the parkways. You can look at our website or contact the Public Works Streets Division for details. I want to remind everybody that the next City Council meeting will be on Tuesday, September 8th. That's because of the Labor Day holiday on Monday. Houston Street is moving forward. Right now they're working on stormwater pipe, and AT&T and NICOR are still out there finishing up their work. I wanted to remind everyone that as of January 1st of 2015, a building permit is now required for driveway installation on private property. This is new to the city. It's due to the fact that we need to watch over drainage and some boundary issues. And so if you know of anybody who plans on installing a new driveway, if you could let them know. I know, although we've published this in Neighbors and on our website, sometimes these messages, it takes a while for them to filter through the community. Art Near Eye was this weekend, and it was very successful. I'm sure Jamie will talk about it next week. I've just observed, what would the festival will be without some kind of weather-related issue. This year was heat. They lost a couple of tents during the night of early Saturday morning, and then some, I think, on Saturday afternoon. But it's really starting to evolve with the music and the beer tent, and just as somebody who's been involved in it since the beginning, I and some other folks have started to step away a little bit, and it's been very difficult because you have this fantasy that things aren't going to work. Well, it just is so terrific because there are so many people working on that festival who I didn't recognize at all. They're younger people. That's we always talk about handing things on to the next generation to take over, and I can tell you from the festival point of view, that's happening in spades, and so I think it's really good. That's part of our infrastructure as far as I'm concerned. So that's all I have here.
Any questions of the administrator? Thank you. Okay, committee reports, community development, Alderman Brown.
Thank you, Your Honor. A couple meeting announcements. The committee of a whole meeting for tomorrow evening has been canceled. The Plan Commission is scheduled to meet this coming Wednesday at 7:30. On their agenda is the public hearing for the amendments to the comprehensive plan text and land use map, which is for the West Town area, as we now call it, on the west side of Batavia. Historic Preservation is scheduled to meet August 24th at 5:30, and then our next COW meeting is scheduled for August 25th at 7:30. CDC has got a few items: the dedication of Hoover Lane, annexation of Carlisle and Hoover, annexation of 937 South Verdant. And Bill, one thing that's not on here is, Scott, just at the last meeting, we talked about the possibility of some signage at the Speedway and all the signs at the entry points, and we were going to give that a couple weeks and then come back and have some more discussion. Could we have something more on that agenda at that time, too, for that?
We'll really try it.
Okay. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Okay, Government Services, Alderman Atek.
At the next COW meeting, August 25th, we will be having a mid-year finance review and a debt presentation. And that's all I have.
City Services, Alderman Wolf.
Thank you, Your Honor. At the August 25th COW meeting, we'll have an amendment to the master service agreement with Allen Peppa Architects. And that's all. I do have one question. Are we going to have the Comcast franchise agreement back on the agenda on the 25th? I know it got bumped off the 11th, and since we're not having a meeting tomorrow night. Bill?
Pardon me?
The Comcast franchise agreement, is that going to be back on the 25th?
I'm hoping so. We're
Okay.
still going back and forth with some of this stuff.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, Public Utilities, Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Your Honor. August 25th, Public Utilities will discuss purchase of backyard electric derrick. That is all.
Okay. Do we have other business from the council?
Your Honor, I just want to make one comment.
Sure.
On the resolution that was passed tonight for the work that's going to be done for the flow monitoring, I'm kind of saddened that the press isn't here because we had so much problem.
He's right there. He's on the other side of the podium.
Oh, there he is. I'm glad you're here. We had so much of an issue with that flooding back in June, and we found that there were so many areas of town that were being affected that have never been affected before, so staff has been working very hard. I hope everybody's gotten, all the residents should have gotten a survey by now on their utility bills to see whether or not they were affected that we, again, didn't maybe know about. So that resolution is a part of this exploration that we're doing, staff is doing, to try to fix all these problems that we have. And as we've talked about in the committee level, but not on the council level, so it hasn't been really publicized, is staff is doing an awful lot of work, and we're trying to address every issue in town that did receive flooding, and it's going to take time, and it's going to take money, and it's going to take a lot of time, and it's going to take a lot of work, but this is probably it's not the first step because every week they're working on it, but this is the first step that we're going to see financially to try to resolve some of these issues. So I just wanted to make sure that the public was aware that we are still working on this, and we're not going to let it slide.
Okay, anybody else? Alderman O'Brien?
Just on what Dave was saying also, I've been approached by some folks who've had flood damage, and they received the flyer and the questionnaire from the staff, and their concern is, they have concerns about filling it out and submitting it back to the city. And I think, being on TV, people should fill it out because it will help staff to address flooding issues in all homes and in their home again. So I think it's important that people fill that out and get it back to the city so we can try to alleviate any problems in the future.
Alderman Callahan, you had something?
Yeah, I wanted to pass along some concern and some anger for, there was if anybody hadn't heard about the accident that happened on town last night, some of the residents that are here and that live there called me and made sure that I came down to see the tree, and Al Phillips' house right at the bend on town where the tree was hit. It's been hit several times over the years, and now he has no more protection of his house because he's been saying, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, and his major concern is now a car is going to go straight through his residence. So he would like to see the city do something for that area, and I know Bill and Scott Haynes have been out there trying to figure out what we can do for that area. But I know that Al wanted to pass along his frustration that he's very upset that it had to come to the third time hitting in front of his house, and this is actually the second accident with major injuries in 2 months at that curve. So I would like to see something happen in that area right around Dave's house and my house. It also led to some of the discussions in the neighborhood about some of the speed limits being going from 20 to 25. And I know that might have not have prevented what happened last night with some of the issues with that. However, there are concerns that I'm sure neighbors are very upset about that would like to see some more movement before someone, we could say someone gets hurt, but they already have been. They just don't want to get killed. And the second one is thanks to Scott Buning for letting the press know about the information that we received from Siemens in their latest cleanup. A bunch of residents did, as a result of the article in the King County, contacted me about passing along messages and questions, which Scott did to Dean Harris at Siemens today, and they will be getting the information within the next week that the residents asked for. So I do appreciate very much Siemens' willingness to very much work quickly on getting the information back to us. So thank you.
Anybody else?
Your Honor?
Alderman Wolf?
I do have one. BATV is having a program premiere live concert and a benefit featuring Noah's Arcade hosted at Kiss the Sky on Saturday, September 5th, 2015. 7:15 is when the doors open. 7:30 through 8:30, Noah's Arcade will be there. And at 8 p.m. will be the world premiere of BATV's Underground music show. This is basically a fundraiser for BATV and a premiere for the new show. So if anybody wants to come out and see that, you can check the website at mybatv.com.
Anybody else in the council?
Yeah.
Alderman.
I just wanted to request something put on the agenda regarding Prairie State. Gary sent out an email with some potential major infrastructure projects might come up, want to see the impact of that, but also the Joe Marconi et al. Lawsuit was dismissed. So I'd like a discussion at least as what other avenues we can look at or options we have out there.
Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. Would you come up and use the mic, please, and give us your name and address for the court?
Hello, I'm Anna Gower, and I've been a resident at 1103 Town Avenue since 1989. And I've noticed that there's been not only people exceeding the speed limit, but drag racing in the neighborhood. Downtown Avenue, I talked to another resident crossing on Town Avenue. He's seen it, and he talked to a resident, Kendra, on Bernadette. She saw people drag racing, obviously people drag racing. And yesterday I saw it twice in the evening. And when I heard the crash and I saw the lights in front of my house, I knew it was something serious. I put on my shoes and I went out there and I went to Al Phillips' house. And my immediate concern was that he or the family could have been hurt. And I saw the vehicle and I had to get a closer look at it. I went out there with my little Coleman lantern. And it appeared to be the same black car that I saw the records in. And I'm worried that, he could have been the worst offender, probably is, but if this continues to happen, somebody could either get hurt, could be a child, could be a pet, could be somebody pulling out of their driveway and getting just smashed to bits. And I just wanted to do my civil duty. I want to speak for my neighbors that aren't here. And as a citizen of Town Avenue, I think something should be done about it. And I saw the wreckage last night, and it was chilling. I couldn't sleep all night. I couldn't sleep at all night. I had to come in and save my peace.
Well, thank you for coming down. Alderman Callahan's already sent several memos out to myself and the city department heads. I know he's been very much on top of it. We've already talked about some ideas that he has about changing lighting and striping and, maybe some selective enforcement by the police department. And we'll be taking a close look at that. I appreciate what you're doing. I was down myself this afternoon and got out and looked at what's remaining of the scene down there, the tree and everything else. And so I'm impressed by the quality of the hit there, that they weren't more seriously hurt than they were with what happened there. So, yeah.
Town Avenue is very dark at night. The trees are like growing, and it's very dark. And last year, my family and I walked to the fireworks, and then came back down Town Avenue. 3 of us fell in the dark, and the sidewalk isn't even, and it is darker than I think it should be. And that's another issue that I feel should be examined.
Alderman Callahan has already raised that this afternoon, so. Thank you.
Your Honor,
Alderman Wolf?
I'd just like to say, along with the speeding thing, the street that mine dead ends into on Whipple had a similar incident happen, but they bounced off of a mailbox, 3 trees, and I think 2 curbs. And the marks are all still out on the street from it. It had to be a car well in excess of 30 miles an hour to do all the damage that it did, shear the trees off that it did, and end up down the street and got about 3 blocks away before the car finally died and was abandoned. I definitely think that these kind of issues really point towards some more enforcement, especially at night. And, you know, I don't understand why anyone would ever want to drag race down Town Avenue. And to me, that's one of the worst streets to go down because of the curve, because of the lighting. It's just not an easy street to go through. I don't know why anybody would ever pick that street. But obviously, they're doing it. The same thing with Whipple. It's a short 2-block street, and yet constantly you can hear the cars roar up and down that street as a cut through. And I think that's part of what town's problem is that's what happens on that street. So we definitely have to do something about it.
My boy's got a spike strip.
Well, and I think if somebody sees a car out there and they can recognize the car, recognize the license plate, call the police department and tell them. If it's nothing more than a 16-year-old kid that's out there thinking they're having fun, a visit from a police officer with their parents standing behind them might do some good.
Thank you. Going to the 14, the mayor's report, very quickly. This past Friday, I had 2 ribbon cuttings. One we did in the morning out at Sam's Club for their grand reopening of their store. And they had Jesse White and Jesse White's Tumblers and the State Police Air One helicopter and the Batavia Fire and Police Departments. And we had quite a little thing going out there. And then they gave away over $10,000 to local charities and organizations and commitment to their recommitment to Batavia, which I thought was a nice way to do it. They certainly put their money where their mouth was as far as trying to show that they were wanting to be intricately involved in the community. Then in the afternoon, Alderman Brown joined me, and we were down on Randall Road at GNC for join the Batavia Chamber of Commerce. They sponsored that ribbon cutting. And while Alderman Brown and I were there, we were heavily lobbied about the need for expanding the temporary sign ordinance in town. And the pitch is that we have many businesses that come up with special sales and promotions and whatever have you, and they'd like to have the ability to put a few signs out. And I think we explained to them that, you know, we've tried to do some things about that, but the problem we've sometimes had is that we allow people to put temporary signs out and they never bother to go back, number one, and pick them up. And secondly, they sometimes don't know where they can and cannot put signs, and they put them on private property. And the next thing we're knowing is we're getting a call at the building department that somebody is encroached on somebody's private property with signs. So I think we left it with the owner that we would come back, and haven't had a chance to do it yet, but memo the city staff and ask them to take a look at maybe how some other towns are handling temporary signs. And specifically, I think if we do something, we've got to have some ability to come back on people that put some signs out and then don't take those signs down. like we write them a ticket and say, you know, we gave you 72 hours to keep this sign up, and at the end of 72 hours, you didn't have it down, so it's time to give you a ticket. I don't know how else to deal with it, but we've got a lot of people, and this is not a rare occurrence. We've had a number of people talk to me recently about the ability to put up temporary signs. So we're going to look into that. Then the other one I wanted to share is that I've gotten an inordinate number of complaints this year about kind of the growing of plants, flowers, and tall grass. And many of it revolves around, some folks have decided that the city parkway is a place where they can plant experimental grasses and flowers and tall plants and whatever. And we've got some areas that I think have kind of pushed the envelope. And as far as I know, we haven't really gone out and cut anything down yet, but we've got some that are really kind of testing the water. And so I'm not sure what we're going to do with that. I took a quick look downtown with our downtown guy from the street department last week, and we the city, had a couple of issues over with the closing of Houston Street now. Anybody that goes into McDonald's has to come in and go out and can't go out the back. And there was a visibility issue that as you came out of the exit at McDonald's, the grass was growing so tall there you couldn't see what was coming down the street. So we took some stuff down there and cut it way down so that it opened up to reopen the visibility. I know we've had some discussions about the plantings in front of the old post office, where unfortunately some of them were put up, and I've had some of the horticulturists in town tell me they didn't get either enough sun or water, and the flower that was planted just fell over and is laying off the side of the wall into Wilson Street or whatever. So I think we probably need to have some kind of a advisor come in and tell us a little bit about what we can and cannot plant. The same issue has been raised to me about the War Memorial up at Batavia Avenue, Wilson Street, and I think to this point in time we've done a nice job up there, but the stuff is getting real high, almost to the point where from Wilson Street or Batavia Avenue you can't see the War Memorial because the plants and flowers are so high there. So that's another one, I guess, that we need to take a re-examination to as to what it is we're going to do. But I would encourage all of you to, while you're driving around your wards, and I think almost everybody's got one or two where we've got somebody that's kind of freelance in I'll call it an experimental garden on the city parkway. And some of the stuff is 6 or 7 feet tall. And if it's blocking the viewpoint of traffic or stopped intersections, it's becoming problematic. And so one of these days, I think I'm going to ask the code enforcement officer to go out with me on a tour, and we're going to just make a list, and maybe to begin with send some folks a note and say, you know, we're concerned maybe you ought to cut some of this down a little ways. And we want to do this in a nice way because I think these people are seriously trying to do something to have some creativity in what they're doing in the community. But if it's a hazard and it's causing some danger on road intersections, I think we need to look at it, you know, again and again, and maybe come up with some new ideas on this whole thing. So if any of you have any issues in your wards, or you have some new ideas on how we can do some control over weeds or tall grass, flowers and plants, I think we'd be very interested to hear what you have to say. So feel free to email me or call me or whatever, and we're going to be trying to do this the right way and do things so that we had a problem earlier this year, I'll tell you another one, with our friends at the State of Illinois Department of Transportation. Nice people, they're friends of mine, we haven't had any problems, but I think they're out of money. They don't have any money to do much. So we've started having grass coming out of the cracks on the state highways, and in a couple cases on both Route 31 and Route 25, in my view, it got to be untenable as to the height of the grass and some of the weeds that were growing. So I asked Scott Haynes and asked him to go out and basically take care of that stuff and get it off the state highway. It was beginning to look like you were driving into a ghetto area in some areas where the stuff was so high. So hopefully you've noticed in the last few weeks all the stuff that was on the state highways that was 2 or 3 feet tall in some instances, it's laying there now dead on the side of the road, or that we've taken it out of there altogether. And I guess that's the city's contribution to the state budget crisis right now, because I think if I called the state and said, would you take care of this grass on Route 25 or Route 31, they'd probably tell us, we really don't have the ability to do that right now. So I think the city of Batavia, and I've talked to other mayors in the area telling me they're doing the same thing, because things are beginning to show us that they really are tight, and I think responsibly the IDOT has to be careful what it's out there doing and what it is turning its crews loose to do. So if we want our town to look nice, we gotta do it ourselves, I think, to some degree. So I guess that's about it. Alderman Brown, you want to make a motion?
Could I add to that?
Pardon?
Could I add to that?
Certainly, be my guest.
Just one comment. Before we do too much, I mean, I've been watching the War Memorial and the island in front of the old post office too, and I'd say before we do anything there, let's take our time, because from what I'm hearing, we had just one heck of a growing season this spring, and maybe next year it won't be so great, and maybe these things won't be, they've got a range of height that they grow, and it could be 18 to 36 inches, and maybe this year we just really hit that 36 inches, so let's not move too fast on that. But the other thing I just wanted to make a comment on too, when you made a comment there about Rhonda, our code enforcement, and sometimes we just got to take things and do them ourselves, is kind of put the notice out to the public. If you have any homes in your neighborhood that have been abandoned, we just had this happen over in my ward here just a couple weeks ago, where a resident contacted Drew and I and want some advice because their home had been abandoned and had, the trees were out of hand, the grass was out of hand, the skunks were living under the deck and everything, and so contacted Rhonda, and she did what Rhonda does, and 4 or 5 days later, 2 trucks showed up and cleaned everything all up, and we just have to do that. It's something, unfortunately, the city has to take on sometimes to do. Sometimes we can get the bank to do it if it's been turned back over to a bank, but it's something that, as residents, we all just need to do to keep our areas taken care of, so we don't start seeing where the property values drop, and as you mentioned, just start turning into looking like a ghetto. We just have to do something about it. So if anybody who happens to hear on TV or whatever, if you got a house two doors down from you or something that is falling apart, get a hold of your alderman and let us know, and then we can pass it on to Rhonda and she can check it out. And I know she's a busy gal, but she does a very good job at what she does. So I move we adjourn the city council meeting.
Second. Moved by Alderman Brown, second by Alderman O'Brien. Clerk, take a voice vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.